Welcome to the Livestock Advisor updates. Ash, you missed a very important point. I think also the pub here claims to be the oldest in Western Australia, I think, from an agricultural perspective. That's very important. As uni students, we had a couple of mates around here and we spent many a long evening in the pub next door. But that is an aside. So look, thank you all for coming today. This is important part of MLA's, adoption, broad-scale adoption and awareness program. Working with livestock advisors as consultants is really becoming part of our core mission or target. We recognise that as a conduit to producers, having advisors on board and skilled around what MLA is doing from an R&D and adoption perspective is just hugely important. So thanks for giving up some of your time today, and thanks also to the organisers, the team at Pinion, and also locally Ash, Ed, and Georgia. We appreciate the time and effort you put into this. We all have a common goal, and that is around profitability, productivity, and a sustainable livestock for livestock businesses. And what a great time to be involved in agriculture, particularly this year, particularly in the southwest of WA. I think I actually showed this slide last time. I digress. One thing I should mention is the team within MLA, they obviously are getting very frustrated being sort of cooped up in Sydney and Brisbane and other parts of the East Coast. So, particularly Sally Lago and the adoption team, they really wish they could have been here, but you're left with me being based in the West. And luckily, not only myself, but we also have, three core R&D program managers based in Western Australia now as well. So it's funny how it goes. 2 or 3 years ago, we were criticised for not having a presence in WA, and now we're criticised on the East Coast because we've got too much, perceived to have too much influence. So you sort of can't win. But anyway, I digress again. This is, I think, pretty important. A couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago now, it was really obvious. It became obvious through survey work that, nationally, there was a number of advisors which were sort of rarely or never involved in research, development and adoption, which we thought was, pretty sad. And the flip side of that, there was, large percentages that wanted to know, and also another large subset that wanted to be involved. So setting up these livestock advisor updates is part of that, delivering on that message. Reflecting on Western Australia, and again, look, I'm a bit locally sort of biased. I think it really is important to understand that there's a lot that happens in the state. Meat and Livestock Australia, we look at it from a national perspective, don't necessarily get bogged down on borders, but a lot of people do. And when you actually, and if you wanted to break it down, there's some significant work that happens in the West. Just that top dot point, that there is a caveat to that when I say 61 R&D or adoption projects, that's actually vendors that are Western Australian. So it may not necessarily be 61 projects per se, but, researchers that are essentially sending us a bill or advisors that are sending us a bill. So we do have a lot of interaction, and there's a lot of value, I guess, from an R&D perspective that flows into WA. We have some significant research, particularly with DPIRD just recently. I'm not sure if anyone had the opportunity to be in Katanning this week, but that Feed 6 5 project is part of our Sheep Links program, which is a $5 million investment with DPIRD, and we've got a large commitment with UWA through Phil Verco, who's here, around WA Beef Links. So this is through the MLA donor company, but some significant sort of dollars flowing through into West Australian programs. And many of you would have been involved in producer demonstration sites, and then more recently with profitable grazing system packages, which Ashley and others in the room are obviously involved with. And, we'd really encourage you to continue to try and to stay involved and work with us, with producers. So for today, it's pretty simple. You learn, gain and network. That's the core. It's a great, well, what a great facility. It's a nice group that's here. It's not too big, it's not too small, so there's a great opportunity to network, and I'd really encourage you to actively participate, ask questions, probe the speakers, If you need to understand any more, then at any time, please feel free to reach out to myself, who's based here in South Perth. We've got offices at the Department of Ag there. Before I finish, there's a few things I would like to do. I'd like to acknowledge the working group that MLA has put together to develop this Livestock Advisors updates, amongst other things, and locally engaged in Western Australia. Shout out to both Ashley and Ed. We appreciate your time and effort with that. And also, I want to acknowledge our bursary recipients, who will get formally acknowledged later on, but Sinead and also Kelly, congratulations and thank you for applying and also for making the time to come up. But Ash will touch on that more formally later. The program for today, look, you should have that in front of you. It is pretty clearly set out there. We've got some great speakers, many of them here. We've got a few online, which is what we're also getting used to. It's amazing, speaking about it, adoption. If you've got forced adoption, we sort of get pretty good pretty quickly. So the technology hopefully will all work, and there'll still be a chance for questions and interaction. My last job before I hand over to the boss, Ash, who's your chair, just recognise that particularly my colleagues and peers on the East Coast, the COVID plans are very important, so we need to tick those off. Hopefully you've all signed in, but just be aware of that. The facilities here, bathrooms are through this door and on the right. Emergency exit out the doors and to the back of the car park is where we need to meet. I already have a beer on the bar for a phone that rang not long ago, but just make sure your phones are on silent. And if you want to get involved, there's certainly an email address there if you're too shy to talk to Ashley or Ed during the day. Joe, talent release. Please be aware that photographs and videos may be taken at any time today, and let us know if you're not comfortable with that. Thank you. That's it for me. Ash? I do need to apologise. I've just got it's a bit of a shit excuse, but I've got a busy day today, so I've got to duck in and out, but I'll definitely be back in the afternoon and look forward to having an afternoon tea and a beer with everyone. Thank you.